So let me try. You were getting to something interesting that I wanted to delve a little deeper into. It's that there are things that are happening in the world. There are people who are hurtful. There are situations that are harmful. There are things such as racism and sexism. Those things are happening in the world. And so we're not trying to be spiritual and pretend like, if you just pray that nothing will impact you. That's not what we're trying to say. It's that within those situations, there are pieces of it that you can look at in terms of how you're interpreting what's happening, how you're filtering it through the lens of your own life and your own experience, and then what choices you're making because it's happening. Like that's the area that you can work in. It's your part of it, and never trying to deny that what's happening might be harmful or hurtful and that you can set boundaries and put a stop to it, but there's still work to do on your side of it.
Exactly, right? So I guess that also, we can look at that from various dimensions because we are multi-dimensions beings, right? So there is this third dimension here in the material world where the harm is happening, right? Because we have a body, we're going to feel the pain and all the harm that we're feeling. And even here in this 3D, when we are talking about meditation that way, the idea is to bring back to us the power of responding, right? But that will never prevent the pain because pain is inherent to be human being.
Mm.
Sometimes what we want through spirituality is find a way to escape pain,
Mm-hmm.
and that will never happen, right? So unfortunately, I say with my heart, I know that I have been there too, and I have to repeat that to my clients sometimes and my workers. And I know this is bad news, right? Because there is no way for us to prevent pain. Pain is inherent, and we're gonna feel the pain. And sometimes I say, it's not that the person or the people that are causing us pain, they want to harm us. If you have a child and they are sick, you are in pain. It's not intentional, right? So we cannot avoid pain. Having said that we cannot avoid pain, we have ways to respond to whatever is harmful and happening in life from a perspective of power, right? So I don't need to make war. I don't need to go into judgment. I can go into discernment. I can meditate to find how is the best aligned way to respond to certain circumstances in our lives. So there is not a recipe. It
Mm.
is moment by moment. You're going to respond more precisely if you are present to what is happening. And that's how we want, you want to cultivate that presence because then we'll be more, there will be integrity in our response and power, right? In other level, when I say multi-dimension, is because if there is conflict and harm happening here in this third dimension, the guide would say also, I guess, that in the lecture of communication, if I'm not mistaken, for us to remember that in the spiritual level, in another dimension, that was already agreed. So perpetrator and victim here in the three dimensions find their commonality in the spiritual world to understand that that conflict is
Mm.
at service of something, even if we don't know what it is. So in the spiritual level, there is no harm really happening,
Mm.
right?
Deep,
And then
Cibele. Wait a minute. I understand what you're saying, but ooh, that was deep. So it, when you say agreed upon, unpack that a little bit more.
you know, I I don't like to talk about karma because I don't believe it the way that the spiritists sometimes bring it. But imagine that I don't know, I'm fighting my mother, for example, right? And there is a conflict that sometimes it's irreconcilable, or maybe I'm fighting somebody else, my husband. So I want to understand also, to be fully responsible for what is happening, that as a soul in my soul journey,
Mm.
that conflict was already agreed upon, right? That we're gonna be hurt here in this dimension, because that hurt will cause me to grow.
Okay.
Will cause me to change my perception about myself, right? So talking about sexism. Why am I part of a sexual harassment? Because in me, somewhere, I believe that first, that's what I deserve. I believe that women are weaker. I believe that I need to submit. I'm very distorted about my way, the way that I hold the feminine energy, even if all of that is not present in my conscious. Again, that's not what I believe consciously, of course. But if I am experiencing it, if we believe what the guide is saying, if I am experiencing some kind of harassment, there might be a belief in me that this is what I need to go through. So in the spiritual world, I'm going through that hurt so that I can wake up for my beliefs and question them. So when I go about my feminism in the world, I'm not going to fight men. I'm going to find my own beliefs about what it is to be a woman in life. Right. So again, I gain power.
That's a good one, because to separate the spiritual from the familial is where I went when you talked about that. And it's just kind of, if I'm thinking that spiritually, that I was born to this family of women at this time in the history of the United States as a Black woman, like that informs what I learned from my family, what I learned from society, because the society that my family was in. So my soul is in this moment to heal that. But the messaging of what it meant to be a woman, what it meant to be a strong woman, what it meant to be a weak woman, or whatever, was centered or based or given to me by my family and the community that I was born in.
Yes. So, if we choose to fight the other because we think that the problem of sexism, for example, is the other, is the man or whatever, we are empowering it. If we remember that maybe in the spiritual level, there's something that I need to work, that I need to grow through that pain, I gain power, right? So I'm going to act in the world in a different way. It's not that I'm not going to do anything. It's not in inactivity. It's not that I will, be spiritual, as I said before, and then I will not have any discernment of what is happening in the world. But I'm not going to fight by blaming the other, right? I'm going to see the discernment and know how much I am also responsible in my unconscious, in my soul level, in my beliefs to that is happening. And that, I think that in that, there will be transformation.
Right. So I got what you were saying. So the power lies in, I can spend my energy fighting with this person and making them wrong and trying to prove them wrong and get them to change. I can spend my energy there, or I can spend my energy working on my belief system and what is it that I need to do to feel empowered in this situation. It's kind of where your focus is that gives you power. When I focus on me and what I'm bringing to it and what needs to change for me, that is where the opportunity for transformation rests, not with arguing with this person and trying to prove them wrong.
Yes. And when we are trying to prove the other wrong, we are believing that the evil is outside, or there is an evil or something, and that is not what the spiritual philosophies and teachings are telling us. They're telling us that we are all one. They're telling that it's all facets of ourselves, right? So that's when we go to the other level, other dimensions out of this 3 dimension, we know that might be happening for a good cause. It is difficult, I always say it's easier said than done, because if I bring it to my own beliefs, right, my political activism, oh boy, does that mean that I need to look at those politics that I hate, right? I hate, look at my word, and include them back. Oh yeah, that might be it, because exactly the hatred that I came here to work. The hatred is not working. It's not helping to increase the love in the world. So maybe that person that I quote unquote hate also made an agreement with me in another dimension so that I can work my hatred.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you get it right every time. It
No.
means that you're aware that there's another way to look at this. There's another way to approach it. There's another way to look at this. You're not going to use it. You may not use it in every situation in your life, but still there's an awareness. Argument with my boyfriend, argument with family, conflict at work, taking it all the way up, political conflict. Like I'm aware that there's another way that I could hold this. In this moment, I still want to be mad at that other person, but I'm aware that there is the opportunity for me to look and figure out what I'm supposed to be learning about myself in this moment.
Yes, 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 yes. So it's radical self-responsibility.
Yeah.
It's how we really go through this path, right? As you said, we are not perfect. So it is a path, it is a journey, but the journey is to discover radical self-responsibility, right? And not blame the other.
That was perfect. I wanted to end there. That was a perfect